Hey guys, welcome to a part of the podcast I call Growing Pains. These are stories of people who aren't just going through things, they are growing through it. Today you'll hear me speaking to my friend Lynton Dell on the podcast, the owner of Warehouse Gym in Leicester, a fantastic facility that's built a strong community based on good morals, good values, training hard, kicking ass and taking names. I know you're going to love this one, guys. Lynton, welcome back to the podcast. How you doing, bro?
Nice to be back again.
Nice to be back, mate. We come back on some not sad but some frustrating terms because in a horrible way. My hope was the last time we spoke that was the only time I was gonna see this gym not in its glory, and unfortunately it still seems to be the case. Now you've been going for nearly a decade in February.
I mean, that alone sounds...
That's ridiculous.
Now you're making me feel old.
That's a lifetime in itself. And you've been doing it, and I know we spoke last time on the podcast about how it comes from a place of wanting to help people with their fitness and stuff like that. But we both know, and I think everybody in the fitness industry is going to agree when we say this, that there's always been the underlying side of yes, it's a physical location, it's a physical thing that we're trying to help people with, but there's a massive underbelly and underlying factor that is the fulfillment people take from the mental aspect of this. So we've spoken around that in the past, and we know it's in the back of our minds quite literally, but this all kind of came to a head for you personally, and it kind of struck home, if you will, when you had a member of your gym unfortunately take their life during this pandemic. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so unfortunately one of our members took his own life, obviously leaving behind a loving family, daughter, brothers, sisters. And kind of when I heard about it, like literally the day before that it happened, I was speaking to him about buying new kit and what we're looking at doing, and as they kind of always say, it's always people that you don't expect it to. And we was literally laughing and joking, and he would have been in one of the top 10 people that I said, no, like he's not that kind of person, or he's not thinking like that.
Yeah.
And when I heard about it, I was like, I mean, it really bothered me. I mean, I didn't know, obviously I didn't socialise with Jordan, but I knew him in the gym, we spoke a lot, and it just really bothered me. So I kind of did a post on Instagram, and I was like, obviously Jordan's taking his own life, like, is anybody else struggling? And the amount of messages that I got, that is what blew my head away, to the point where I was receiving like 10, 15 messages of people saying that they were going to drown themselves in one of the local lakes, that they'd been caught in the shower by their daughter trying to hang themselves, taking an overdose. And I was like, I mean, I knew mental health was massively on the increase, especially with the whole COVID thing, but I don't think I kind of comprehended actually how much and how many people. And say for me, it was more of the men that actually came back to me than the women. I mean, I did have women come to me, but it was mainly men, like Lynton, like, I don't know if I can carry on doing this. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow morning. I don't know how I'm going to feel tomorrow morning. And I was like, it was a lot for me personally. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Because that kind of like self-reflection as well, isn't there? Where you're like, you know, you're an approachable guy. You've been through a lot of different things in your life, which give you a certain amount of, not credibility, but like the difference between empathy and sympathy. You connect with people in a different way because they know where you've come from, and they feel more comfortable to reach out to you. But was that like the moment where you were like, well, I thought I was approachable, and you know you are approachable, but you're like, how have I been so oblivious to this? How have I? Am I not looking for it? I feel like I'm asking the questions, but obviously I'm not. So this is on my front door, and it's not your responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility. But it feels like this person has gotten to the point where I felt like if he had to talk to anybody, or if they had to talk to anybody, my wife, my daughter, anything, I hoped I would have been one of them people they could have at least said something to. But Jordan, for whatever reason, felt that that was it. There was no other answer that he could think of, and he'd obviously taken the steps to take his life.
I mean that was one of the hardest things that I kind of had to deal with off the back of that, because in my opinion, the Warehouse Gym is by far the most diverse gym in Leicester. And then that's not...
It is the community gym.
That's not even me trying to be biased. Like, I genuinely believe that we are the most diverse and friendliest gym that once you're through the doors, most people agree with that. And like people were like, oh, like, don't go there. Like, it's this, it's that. They come in and they're like, I'm blown away about how it is. It's actually not like I've been told it is. Yeah. So I was like, if we're the most friendliest gym and we've got some of the best staff going, if Jordan couldn't feel that he could speak to us, what are people doing that don't have a friendly circle like we have in the gym? Like don't have friendly staff like we have in the gym? And it was mind blowing for me.
Of all the situations, all the scenarios where you think there's less of a bridge to cross for them to reach for help, because some places there's a chasm. There's like, it's a cold work environment. People aren't social. They're very guarded. Whereas here, like you say, it's open, it's inclusive. There's a real friendly vibe about the gym. I mean, even since the pandemic, you've shifted to that more community based to really refined out. And we've spoken about the flags before. Yeah. It's everywhere. It is woven into the fabric of what this gym is. Yeah. And if even in that situation, but unlike so many people, with all due respect, they talk about a problem, they're like, somebody needs to do something about this. Like there's that social accountability. I'm going to throw that into the universe in the hope that somebody else will pick this up and do something with it. Now, you are not a mental health expert, neither am I, but you are like, somebody's got to do something. There's more of an answer here. And I love what you've sort of gone on to do, and we'll talk about it in a bit, that you haven't pretended to know the answers, but you know the people that at least have a greater understanding, the qualifications, the empathy, and the resources to support people. I want to echo back just some of the stats, because I'm sure people have heard people talk about, oh, this is a real problem, this is a real problem. But we were on some of the national surveys, and we're looking at 2019, guys. So this is not 10 years ago. It's not relevant anymore. 2019, we're looking at 5,691. This is Gov UK. Everybody can go and have a look. There was that many suicides, England and Wales, which you break it down, that's 11 per 100,000 people. Now let's make it local. Leicester, we've got a population of just over 500,000, 550,000, something like that, which has again leaped since 2018, was like 350,000. And apparently, so the resources say, 3/4 of those are men, suicides that are taking their lives, and the age bracket is between sort of 30 and 50, which is, with all due respect, a large proportion of a lot of gym. I mean, you've got a very diverse, there's women here. I've seen your list of members, and there's a lot of breadth and range of people, but most gym goers will be closely associated or fall into that bracket, 30, 50-year-old males. And when I saw those, we said about the 1 in 5 number before we came on here, and that's scary. Yeah, that's scary.
That's really what tipped it for me. When I seen that stat after, say, Jordan passing, I looked into it in a bit more depth. That is what, for me, was like, right, like, clearly this, and not that it's the system's fault, but something in the system isn't working.
100%.
And if the government are not able to fund the NHS and therapists and mental health, then as a community, we have got to do it.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's,
it's like, it comes back to fitness, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can get an honor, make it all about fitness, but you can ask for the right gym in the right location. You can ask the resources. You can ask the information. I don't know what to eat. I don't know what to do. You've got to, at some point, the personal accountability line stops, and you've got to go, oh, we can't blame, it's that victim mentality. Oh, the government's not helping me. These aren't helping me. Well, hang on a minute. Come on. We are a collective of resourceful people. Do you know what I mean? We're clearly determined people. A lot of gym goers will have an aspect of determination about them. We're resourceful, we're determined, and we're a community. So you've sort of taken that cocktail, if you will, and you've gone, what can we do about it? So what's led on since that tragic incident?
So then obviously Jordan passed away, and then the government announced that we were going to go into lockdown 2. So at that point, I was just like we can't just keep doing this, because off the back of it, obviously I had all the messages of people saying that they were feeling suicidal or had been suicidal over the last few weeks. So then in my head, I was like, right, if I close down now, knowing that these guys are telling me this, and something happens, not that it's my fault, but I know that they were struggling.
Yeah,
and I kind of feel like it's.
I knew about it. I did nothing.
Yeah,
and you do nothing, but you're like.
For me, that was like, right, I'm not going to close.
Yeah,
I'm going to stay open as long as I can, whether it's 1 minute, 10 minutes, or a week. I'm going to try my hardest to stay open, because all my members need a place to go, socialise, get out of the house, just do something. Yeah, it's not in the same 4 walls like most have been stuck in since March.
Absolutely.
So for me, I was like, I'm going to stay open.
And plus, we didn't know when the next one was going to end. I spoke to somebody before I came in today, and we were speaking about this whole marathon analogy and how people go through things. We were talking about mental resilience, and I'm big on that. But mental resilience, a lot of the time, when we talk about somebody going through something heroic, like a marathon, ultra marathon, or a huge university, whatever it may be, there is a defined destination. Do you know what I mean? It's going to take me 3 years. It's going to be 26 miles. Yeah. And then at 26 miles, it finishes. Yeah. Whereas with this, we're like, where's the end? Yeah. And when you can't see the end, it's a bit like saying, the light at the end of the tunnel. But if you're like, there's no light. This is a cave. This is not a tunnel. This is a cave.
Just the guy with the torch pointing towards you.
And the torch just went out. Do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden we're like, I'm not sure this is a tunnel. Yeah. This looks like a cave to me.
I don't know, for many people, kind of like the end was just the beginning. And that's kind of how everyone felt. Like, when is this going to stop?
Yeah.
Like 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 12 months. Like, nobody knew. And that was also part of the anxiety that people had of like, we don't know when it's going to stop.
Yeah. And it's that catchphrase when people say, oh, what's the new normal? New normal. Okay, so is the new normal 1 in 5 people commit suicide? Is that normal, is it? Because I've got 3 children, 1 wife, so there's 5 of us. Which one's getting the bullet?
Yeah.
Self-imposed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's not a new normal. That's not an existence I want to be part of.
The 1 in 5 number is insane. Honestly, like for me, I say, and naively, I definitely thought it was higher than that before all of this happened. But then when I learned about that, like that was, to me, it's just so insane. So I basically worked out how many members I have, divided that by 5. We have so many members that have the potential of feeling like that.
And we said this before we came on, that I and again, it's all subjective and it's all my personal feelings. But I feel like, with all due respect, in the fitness industry, not necessarily in your gym, but the fitness, that number's probably higher, as in more people at risk. Because listeners to the podcast will know from a fitness aspect that when you attend a gym or you attend a yoga facility or you attend whatever, any kind of personal development or support, it's because you've got something you're trying to wrestle with, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and you're struggling. Okay, there's a lot of information out there, but I need some help. So we go to a facility of some form, a rehab facility, a fitness facility, a nutritionist, whatever it may be. So I'm asking for help. That is my place where I am receiving that help.
Yeah.
So I've self-identified myself as someone that's wrestling with something. I'm struggling to find the solution myself. I've identified a place I can get the solution. Now that place has been taken away from me. Yeah. So I think as a micro study of a larger society, that a fitness industry and the fitness facility such as yours is in more need of that, because I believe the members will be at higher risk. Because we start attaching all these aspects of pride, and women now have been, rightfully so, been put in this image of they're all so strong and sexy and great, and so they should be. But now that we've kind of put them on a higher platform as well, and men, we feel like we should be the boss entrepreneur, we should be the provider, we should be the sex god, we should be the absolute Adonis, but we should also be spiritual, and we should meditate, and we should be intelligent. And oh my God, what a precipice, what a platform to place yourself upon, and the perfect father and the perfect mother. Right, okay, so can't do all of them, so I might as well not be here. Do you know what I mean? Because my livelihood's been taken away, for a lot of people. I can't earn money, I can't do that, or they're struggling to do it the way they used to. My social aspect's been taken away, so where I perhaps get a sense of fulfillment from my friends or my social circle, that's also been taken away from me. Well, at least I can still look after myself and stay fit. Oh, no, that's been taken away from me as well. And now you can feel and you can see how, without any external input and support, which I know you're providing, and we're going to speak about that in a minute, how people can quickly run out of an identity or a reason to how am I adding value? How am I adding value? I feel like I'm just putting my family in more debt just by my sheer survival. I can't find an answer. I'm struggling, but I'm supposed to be this Adonis. I'm supposed to be the entrepreneur. I'm supposed to be the business. I'm supposed to be the provider, the breadwinner. All of these ideologies. I can't find the solution. You yourself have thought, well, I haven't got a solution, but here is an accumulation of resources and people. So how did this get started? What was the solution we came to?
So for me, off the back of that, I was like, obviously we got closed down, and I was like, right, what can we do that's going to help these people that doesn't need to be in the gym, a physical place? I was like, maybe we'd need a new mental health charity that can then give people the ability to see a therapist, see a mental health support worker, or even just get some self-help from somewhere without the financial burden, without the waiting list that can be 6-12 months in some cases. So off the back of that, I came up with the idea of like, let's have the Wellbeing warehouse. Let's have a place.
It's a bloody great name, by the way.
I was really impressed with the name. The group came with a really good name, and I was happy with the name.
I don't want us to skip past as well, sorry, but when you were going through that second period of close down, because you said, before I really interrupted, was you wanted to stay open even for a minute or 10 minutes, and this is where you were in danger of becoming a hypocrite, with all due respect, because it was causing you. I mean, talk about that, because people are like, oh, dude, just keep it open. Come on, won't tell anybody. Just keep it open.
And you're like, I had hundreds of messages of people saying, like,
so how did you navigate that moral minefield?
But for me, honestly, it was. I mean, pre-COVID, my life is very, very stress-free. I don't really
designed
get
that way.
Yeah, just from going through therapy and seeing how I want to live my life, I don't really have a lot of stress. But when we were going to get closed down, I was so stressed, didn't sleep, lost like 10 pounds in 3 or 4 days. And I mean, it was just a really uncomfortable feeling. And I was like, if we get locked down again, there's no way that I can go through that all over again. Like, my screen time on my phone went from generally 2.5 hours a day to 11 hours a day of messages, of voice notes. I mean, even one guy messaged me saying that he was feeling suicidal right now. So I was like, I've got to go and do something right now.
Yeah.
So I was like, look, we're going to go meet on the park. Let's go for a walk. And off the back of that walk, soon as we finished that walk, we was there for maybe an hour, and the guy was like, Lynton, already I feel a little bit different. Already I feel like I can do today.
But I want to get onto the fact as well that you can fall into, because I did this in the past, and I feel like that's where you could have headed if you weren't so aware of yourself, is you get this thing, it's called sort of, and I'll really get this wrong, but it's like a hero syndrome, where, because you came from the military, I work in the military services, and you have this thing about you like to help people.
Yeah.
It makes you, sadly, it gives you a sense of gratification. You're like, oh man, I managed to help them, and I helped them, and that. But then it's difficult to know where to draw the line, because, you know, we speak about the figures, right? Well, okay, there's whatever it was, 500,000 people in Leicester. You got 500,000 hours in the week, brother. Is that what we're saying? Do you know what I mean? And you're like,
and that's it.
I gave an hour to this, but what? I gave an hour to them, and half an hour drive each way, and 2 hours away from my family, and not that it wasn't worth it, but it's not sustainable to be doing that, and in you onboarding all of that stress. Because also, you know, I mean, we're trying to get Sophia. There's over 6,000 gyms, I think it is, in the UK. For the public that aren't aware, what was it like as the owner? What was happening from a government or council or whatever? How was that not threat? But, you know, you've got people going, dude, come on, it's the right thing to do. Just hold your morals. Just do it. It's the right thing. And they're like, Mr. Dell, good afternoon. I'd like to talk to you about some posts we've seen. Yeah, How did that go?
Obviously, on the outside, it's very easy to somebody inbox and say, Lynton, just stay open. Like, don't listen to what the council say.
Yeah, fight the power, brother. Fight the power.
Like, yes, I agree to a degree. But then at some point, there's a fine balance between staying open for the right reasons, but having the public on your side and knowing and having them know why you're doing it, versus me opening because I want to make more money or I want to keep my money coming in. And that was never the case. No. Like, I even said to people, and I said this before I joined the first lockdown, if anybody's struggling with your mental health, come and train in my gym for free.
Yeah, I
don't care about the money. I'm like, cool, come and join. We'll give you a nutrition program, give you a training program.
And I know you've also refunded like a lot of your members. When people are like, oh, dude, I'm paying my membership, and you're like, look, gyms need the support, but there's lots of ways for us to access the support, and we're not gonna vilify anybody. We're not gonna shout anybody out. If you don't put yourself in a financial position where it's gonna cause you mental stress.
Yep, sure. 100%.
So I mean, if you can, then do. 100%. And of course, we will reward the gym. People have seen, you know, brief photos and stuff. And when you had the brief reopening, they've seen how you've reinvested that money. It's not, you weren't rolling up in a Benz or anything like that.
And same with this time. I said to all the guys, obviously, people that are paying right now, like, obviously, we're trying to reduce the amount of money that we're spending. And once we know that we're financially secure in terms of we've got an open date and we know that we're going to make it, I won't keep a penny of that money. Every single pound of that money will go back in new kit. We'll refurb the gym again. Like, I don't care about the money. Like, I generally care about people coming in.
I don't think you need to, mate. It looks incredible. I get more annoyed when I come because it looks so much better, and I live like an hour away. So I'm like, I can't come here all the time.
It's just like, it was hard, like, listening to everyone, trying to stay open, screen time going through the roof, which alone was so stressful. I mean, say 2.5 hours usually a day, my screen time, to 11 hours, that alone was like so stressful. Then everybody else's kind of problems that they were dealing with, I was trying to help out where I could. And throughout, when I coach people in the past, I always say kind of, the queen eats first, the king eats first, meaning like I must serve myself mentally, physically, emotionally in the morning, 100%. Every single day before I go and help everybody else. So now how can I then keep trying to stay open on the second lockdown, despite me knowing that saying, despite me knowing that the king eats first, mentally, physically, emotionally, everything. I've got to come first. And that's why for this third lockdown, I just closed.
And that is also a demonstration, because some people can hear that and they can hear it wrong if they're not careful. When we talk about being selfish, because I talk to a lot of clients about being selfish, and they're like, no, Pete, I'm not a selfish sort of person. I'm a giver. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm a giver, but you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yep.
You've got nothing. You've nothing left to give. You know, you can be the most, and mums and stuff, you know, if you're out there listening, some come the worst of it, because they're like give, and they find themselves physically, mentally, financially stripped. And they, you know, you've given money to charity over the years, you've done so much for your members and support. You couldn't do that if you weren't in a financial position to do that. So you can have all the good intentions you want in the world, but unless you're in a good position, you can't provide a great facility. You can't provide a great support. You can't provide a balanced leader who leads by example, looking after your own family and your own mental health. You know, because there's a lot of people in the fitness sector, that's where it's a big hypocrisy, because they're like, do this, do that, and they're smashing class A's, and they're struggling with their life, and they're eating disorders, and you're like, dude, come on. So you've got to lead by example, and you've recalibrated that mental balance.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, just for me, like, kind of what made me decide was like, what's better for me to do? Waste my energy in getting up in the morning and thinking, Are the council going to come today? Are the police going to come today? How long will I last? Like all of that kind of stress.
How did that work as well? Did it come in letters or did they
So
ring?
they just turned up.
Did they?
Yeah, I mean,
what, in like a big crew or?
I watched a few videos online and a few gyms down in London. Like the owner got arrested, and I was like, so that stress was coming on. And they came down, and kind of in the end of it, the basic end of it was like, right, we have the ability to close you down for as long as we determine. Now, bear in mind, the lockdown ends on the 2nd of December.
Maybe not for you though.
We can dictate. We can give you a 60-day closure order if we so wish to do.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Dell, we're giving you the opportunity to close right now, or we will proceed with. So at that point,
you must inside of you. You must be like,
and it's very easy for people on the outside to say, just stay open. Like, forget what they say.
Forget it.
I've probably got maybe over the years, maybe over £500,000 invested in my business. I don't own a house. I don't own a fancy car. You mean everything is the gym. So for me, if they would say we're going to give you a 6-month closure order, if then the lockdown ends in December and then I can't open for another 5 months, my entire membership base is going to go to other gyms. Yeah. That's me.
And you can understand that from their perspective.
Oh, for sure.
Because they'd be like, oh, dude, like, I need to get back in there, mate. I'm not betraying you. I'm not leaving, but I've got... And you'd be like, yeah. And what did I do this for? Nothing. Not like you wouldn't be hateful of anybody, but you'd be like... You'd be looking back going, how stubborn... Was I trying to be a martyr? Do you know what I mean? What was I going to gain from it?
And that for me was where...
The high ground?
The fine line of... I want to stay open to prove point. I mean, we got some really good press off the back of it. I mean, the Mercury reported on it, and the angle that it seemed that they were trying to report on it was like that we were doing something negative. But the actual report that we got from kind of like people seeing that story was actually really positive. Like most people
don't like the news. They don't like the news.
Positive about it.
They know it's half of his lies as well.
We've done what we said we was going to do. We've kind of raised the awareness of why gyms stay open. And for me, and I'm not blaming other businesses, but I've seen a lot of businesses saying like, I need to stay open for mental health reasons. And I get that, but now go and walk the walk. It's easy to say something,
100%.
but now go and do something about it. Not just say, I'm going to stay open for these guys. Like, and some people will say, oh, it's for financial reasons. Mine wasn't. I said to people, I'm happy to pause everyone's membership, close my till down, turn everything off, and let people train in their own thing. No music, no serving, nothing. I won't take any cash.
Yeah.
But do you mean it wasn't about that for me? So for me, it was just like, we've got to do something more that isn't going to waste my energy. It's going to leave me in a position where I can look and try and help other people feel better.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, let's set up a charity that we can then access at any point, free of charge, with no waiting lists. And then say that's why we come up with the Wellbeing Warehouse. So at the moment, we've got this team of 9 of us, from qualified therapists to mental health support workers, people that just have an interest in listening to people and helping people. I'd say fingers crossed, next week we're going to launch that, and people have the ability to log on, see what they're struggling with. There's some self-help tools there, there's blogs, there's posts there, and there's webinars from the Wellbeing Warehouse, and then after the webinars, you've got the option then to go into one-to-one therapy, again, funded by every person that donated to our charity.
Yeah.
Like I said, this isn't something that we're being funded for by the government.
No.
This is people that would donate.
You've not accessed a grant.
Yeah.
I'll justify this grant and I'll put 20 grand in my business and spend £1 grand on that. This has all come from
people. I mean, I even had people donate from Scotland. They were like, look, I'm never going to use this service. I'm never going to ever be in Leicester. But for what you've done in terms of trying to stay open, doing it for the right reason, and now saying this charity, I want to donate so that somebody in your area can benefit from this.
Yeah.
And that's what we've built up. And so for me, now we've got that and we're so close to launching it, I'm hoping even I can save one person from feeling like suicide is the only way out. I'll be so happy that we've done this. And I say we put a lot of hours into it, me and the whole team. But if we can save even just one person...
so I don't want to undersell that. So just break it down for me again, because it's accessible through your website.
So it's going to be independent website.
Sorry.
www.thewellbeingwarehouse.co.uk, and then we have different sections. So are you struggling with drug and alcohol substance misuse? Are you struggling with anxiety and depression? Are you struggling with body image?
Yes.
All of the things that kind of we know people are struggling with, and then they can with the website, it's actually a really cool website, because for me and my personal opinion, therapist websites and mental health websites are very formal, are very clinical.
They're a bit cold, aren't they?
And I think that's where they are going completely wrong. And therapists throughout their training, they always get told, don't speak personally with your clients. Don't tell personal stories. And for me, that is from a marketing point of view, with what I know in marketing, that is the worst thing that you can do. The best thing you can do to help a business, to help a charity, help anything, is be personal. Yeah. Somebody wants to log onto that website knowing that the person...
People want help from people.
Yeah.
They don't want help from a thing.
Yeah.
From like
and
a
that's
faceless
what we've
thing.
got. So with the website, we have like on the About page, we have people that are helping people that admit that they were taking Class A's and partying through their mid-20s.
Yeah.
We have all these people that have been in the real life situation, rather than just a person that's saying, well, like you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't be doing this, because people don't really respond to that. People want to know that you've been where I am right now.
100%.
And we build that up and say this Wellbeing Warehouse thing, I think it's going to be such a good move. And on there, it's kind of like, it's really informal, like all the images like stick men.
Yeah.
Like really cool stick men. Yeah. And it's just like so informal, so unclinical. And I think this is going to really get some real good attraction from people that go to the website. I'm like, this doesn't feel like I'm being forced to sit in front of a therapist asking, how do you feel today? And that's what most people think it's like, and it's really not.
I totally hear you, and that's where I've found that in the past few years as well, coming from the aspect of self-help, and then obviously my own sort of aspects of challenges, addictions, personal development, stuff like that, and then growing into the aspect of coaching, because coaching's a funny old wild west of a world in terms of business coaching and personal coaching. But where I will give the sector its credit, and the aspect of it I most enjoy, is it is not self-led. It can be suggestive in ways, and what I mean by that is it's the difference, like we said before we came on, about empathy and sympathy. You're telling people your own experiences so they can have a greater connection to you, because I've said to people many times before, and it sort of says about, you know, the stories of a lot of your members, where they originally saw their situation as just this whole big mess. Do you know what I mean? Their financial side, their relationships, history of substance abuse or domestic violence or something like that. And what they forget, and it's lovely to see the realization of that, and some of your members stepping forward to support the Wellbeing Warehouse, is that what you perceive as your mess is actually a really powerful message as well to the rest of the world.
100%.
And people can reach out to you. You can't reach out and grab hold of a big sheet steel glossy thing that's not a person. But when it's a person who's saying, you know, we've had miscarriages, or I had an eating disorder, and this is how it got, and this is how it got, you know, like myself, you know, steroids, and then going up to 23 stone and this and that, and then self-harm and having to lose all the weight, and it's different. And then when you see somebody, we spoke about that cave and tunnel analogy, when you see somebody on the other side of the tunnel, rather than just a PowerPoint bullet list of do these 6 steps, you'll get to the end of the tunnel, and you almost look down there and go, is there anybody that's there that I can talk to? And you're like, no, just follow the steps, you'll get to the end of the tunnel. And you're like, okay. And that's where people struggle to connect with it. Whereas I see what you're doing, and especially the fact that it's coming from the gym, because you spoke about how all the money, obviously, that you'd done for charity before, now you've already got up that charity. It's not like you've invented something later on down the line. You've already been doing this in a way, because you've given money to different charities over the years. Now you're just taking this vehicle you've already got and funnel it into what is now a massive need, for sure, that is genuinely life-threatening.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, members and non-members donated money to this, and say, obviously Jordan passed away and left a little daughter behind, and we ended up raising, like, I think it was £5,400. So that when she's 18, she can go and do her driving lessons, or go and travel, or go and do something that remembers her father. And then following that, we then, right, let's set up another charity, another donation part that's for our Wellbeing Warehouse, and we can pay our therapists a subsidized amount. So then people can access,
because these are very skilled individuals as well.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
skilled, qualified.
Therapy, like, it's not an easy feat. I mean, like, people do want to help out, but at some point,
they should be rewarded for what they do. It
can't be completely free. It needs to be subsidised or funded from somewhere.
Of course it does. Because people get paid to put straws in drinks. You know, people get paid to stock the shelves. You know, well, this person is having a significant impact on somebody's life, and it's the balance of anything that's in the sort of self-help, help others, personal development world that you're like, can't you just do it because you're a good person? And you're like, well, hang on, whoa, don't try and crowbar my moral compass, because I am a good person. But you know what? I'm a good person to my children and my wife as well, who I'm not with now because I'm here with you. So, and I want to be here with you. But you should also be rewarded for it. And these are really skilled individuals, and they are already making a difference. Even though we're still awaiting the launch of the platform, I know you're not the sort of person that waits to be told when to go.
Oh no,
you're already far aim, and people are out there now. You know, you're talking to members, and I know you want to go wider than just your gym. You want to support people in the community as well. Which is going to be huge.
And say for me, it isn't just about gym people. It's about just anybody in our local community in Leicestershire that's struggling. Like, come on board. Like, come to one of our webinars. And if you still think you need help off the back of that, we'll get you in therapy. No, it's obviously completely confidential. Everything as if you're going to a normal therapist, just subsidised by what we've raised. For me, I don't want this to be a thing that we do for 3 months. I genuinely want this to be a long-term thing. And I mean, what I'm thinking about at the moment is, potentially asking members if they're happy to add 50 pence to their membership
50p
per month or £1 per month.
Yeah.
And that money just goes straight into the Wellbeing Warehouse, meaning that their son, their daughter, their wife, their husband, their mum, their father can access our therapist if they ever need it.
Yeah. But you know what? Even if they don't need it, and I know I give money to the Firefighters charity and stuff like that, I've never used the Firefighters charity. And hopefully, honestly, I don't think I'll ever will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I want to put myself in a position where I've got all my own resources and I can help my family and everybody else. But it sounds sad and sounds weird for some people, but I know when I donate that money, well, what are you getting for it, Pete? Honestly, I'm actually getting some moral good.
Yeah.
I know, because we spend money on stuff all day, every day. Come on, do you know what I mean? 50p a month.
Yeah, it's
It's
nothing. Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be a fiver, for God's sake. You know, to know that you are contributing to something that is far beyond your ability to do anything about, and it's going local. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With all due respect, we give money to, you know, we all know about the children in need things and all that sort of stuff. You're like, where's it going? I'm not stabbing, you know, I'm not sticking things up, but you're like, it's going to somewhere in wherever, Africa.
And this is actually where the Wellbeing Warehouse came from, because initially we were raising it for the Mind Charity. Now, again, I'm not trying to dig Mind Charity, I'm not trying to dig any charity, but for me personally, I want the people who donated their hard-earned money throughout COVID, knowing the end person has been helped.
100%.
Now, when it goes to Mind, of course people get helped, but also what is the CEO driving of that company? Like, for me, that doesn't sit well with me morally, that people have been donating their hard-earned money that's not all going to go to that end person. So for me, it was like, right, let's do something more local that people can pay into, that they know that somebody in the area is going to benefit from that. And obviously with the gym being now a members-only gym, people in the gym now are all members. If they're struggling, they're going to get help.
Because a lot of people feel bad, you know, they're like, I don't feel like I'm making a difference in the world. I want to make a difference in the world. Well, hey, this 50p, this, you can see it. You can see the link. This 50p equals that. Yeah, this is what you did. You did that. Lynton, Jess, John, Dave, member, whoever. You have done that, and you can take ownership, and you can celebrate with us, and we can stand together like the flipping Avengers, and we're like, we did that as a team. We did that, and that's powerful, man.
Yeah, I mean, and say what would happen off the back of the Wellbeing Warehouse internally for the gym. We will have, whether it's audio notes or videos from the people that have gone through the therapist, saying like, guys, like all you guys that donated, you've helped me. Like for me, it was more about that. Say, I'm not trying to.
I look forward to interviewing them.
Any charity, because every charity does what they need to do. But for me, I want everyone who donated to see that in person and say, I know how I would feel if I donated £1, £5, £100, and 6 months down the line, I've got a guy saying, whoever donated money 6 months ago, just know that I've gone through some therapy and now I feel clearer, I feel calm, I feel more at ease with how life goes. For me, like that's just so much better than saying I give children in need £100. I give because you don't know the end. I want to know the end person. Like I want to see the person or hear the person.
Yeah,
and that's.
And I get that they kind of try to do that because people are like, oh no, you should just give money to a good cause because it's a good cause. No, you know what? A lot of other people do this as well, because when you do watch the Big Children in Need thing, and again, it's a great cause and stuff like that. They do use the story. The power of the story is in everything. It's in religion. It's how we learn. It's how we get inspired. We want to see the underdog story, and they will show a film of a child in carrying 7,000 gallons on his one leg through the forest, and that is not a dig by any stretch. But people understand where I'm going with it. This, yes, is similar, but it's local. Do you know what I mean? You know that person. Yeah, you can see the impact in the community.
Like it's very important that we don't dig at these charities, but a lot of it is a business. Do you mean like what they put out is a marketing plan? That isn't just a random video. That's been orchestrated and directed by someone to have that feeling where it draws your emotion into that advert. If you say, oh my God, like I need to go and donate now. And cool,
and that's fine.
Everyone that donates, we appreciate what you do.
But just know that you can do that for yourself, and not like for yourself like you. I mean, what you're doing here, if more communities did this, then with all due respect, we wouldn't need a massive national campaign where it becomes a little bit fog and mirrors and we're not sure where it's going and a bit fell out the side and somebody at some point didn't like it so they got to pay off. You don't know. But if more communities just did this, and it comes back to fitness, mate, do you know what I mean? We can throw millions of pounds into supporting this and open up a massive centre, but if everybody just took a little bit of personal accountability, you know, people say, oh, well, I give money to Africa, and you're like, yeah, well, your neighbour's struggling. Yeah, you know they've been struggling. Yeah, you've seen them with dementia and they're fucking wandering out to the bins and they've been really struggling. You could help them. And if everybody did that, if everybody looked after themselves and their neighbour, then you wouldn't need anything like that. If every gym or every community did more of what you're doing, we would know where it's going. And there would be nothing slipping through the gaps because there'd be somebody going, well, everybody do the math. Yeah, there's whatever, 100 members, 1,000, 10,000 members, 50 each, and this guy's just been given £47,000, whatever. tangible. Yeah, there's no holes in it. There's no secrets. And you have been part of that. The people, the community, the gym. It's just beautiful. And the fact that it's focused around the mental health aspect, I think it's just so appropriate as well. Do you know what I mean? It's not like another company just seeing an opportunity. You live in the health and wellness industry. Yeah. It's just that people, what we've said at the beginning of the podcast, people are speaking about something that they are then pushing into the universe and trying to let go of that personal accountability of what can I do about it? Well, you can do a lot. Do you know what I mean? And you guys, not just you, and I don't want to make this about Lynton because it is the whole team, are really stepping up and taking charge with it. So we're talking about like reaching out for help and stuff like that. And you said before we came on about reaching out for help, it kind of puts all the impetus on somebody else. It's like, well, you if you're struggling, just let me know. And people are like, okay, I'll let you know. But I love what you said about like the language you were using, because when you were talking about Jordan who had again, well, how do we say it, taken his life, successful suicide, committed suicide, and we don't want to get into semantics of silly words and stuff like that, but the language you said about the language is so important.
That was a big one for me. I mean, I know when I done the first video, I think I mentioned that Jordan had, I can't remember the exact word, I think I said,
you spoke on one of the videos about how Jordan had I mean, it's strange how you said it as well, because I know you spoke about, I remember about this. It was like he'd committed suicide, and that language was, somebody sort of picked you up on it, didn't
so I said, I'd done this video, and I said that one of our members had sadly committed suicide, obviously leaving his daughter behind and his family behind, and then a mental health worker had inboxed me saying, sometimes the language can be the difference. And I was like, can you explain what you mean? And she was like, well, not a dig at you, but like you said that he committed suicide as if he's committed a crime, as if he's done something wrong.
He's committed theft. He's committed larceny.
Like maybe it should be Jordan completed suicide because it's what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And like for me, that was like a light bulb moment, like ching. Yeah. That made sense. And again, another question was like when we do ask people like, how are you feeling? I know for the majority of men, we tend to brush that question off with the same answer. I'm all right, like everything's good. Instead of how are you feeling, what are you feeling?
Yeah.
It's a much more powerful question that you can't just say, I'm okay. You've got to now describe how you're feeling.
And also the difference between open and closed questions. When people say like, hey, Lynton, you good? Well, there's only got two answers there, aren't you? You got yes, no, I'm all right. There's only positive or negative. Whereas if you force the question of, what are you feeling today, brother? You can't just say, yeah. No, what are you feeling today?
Yeah.
And some people will, you'll hit them and they'll go, what? But you want that.
Yeah.
You want that second catch to just shock them, shake them of this film of, mediocrity of no one really is listening, no one really cares. And even if it takes two digs, like I said to you when we came here, when we first met today, it's that question of, how you doing, brother? Yeah, I'm good. And I'm like, but how are you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's that second, because sometimes the first one's just a tap, and the second one pierces through. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's the one. And I love what you said about adapting the question as well, and because the language is so important, so important.
I mean, naively before, obviously, I'm not trained in mental health. I've never done anything in mental health. It's just kind of what I've learned through life experience. And say when the people that had picked me up with the language that we're using and can we ask questions in a different way, for me that was like a light bulb moment. Like the whole committed versus completed thing just made so much more sense. Like committed is a word that we say like somebody committed an offence. They've done something wrong.
We're vilifying it.
Whereas nobody that people would say committed suicide, they completed suicide. It's what they wanted to do. We may not agree with it, but obviously in the moment he felt that, or she felt that was the right thing for them to do at that moment.
I think when we go to jobs of the fire service and the police sometimes, and there may be police officers out there disagree with me, but I've certainly heard the term successful suicide. When they go, yeah, it was a successful and you hear it, the first time you hear it, it kind of shocks you because you're like, dude, what the hell? I mean, we're all a bit dark humory, morbid in the emergency services to a certain extent, and everybody that's in the emergency services will know what I mean when I say that. But even for me, it took me back when I'm like, successful suicide? But you're like, yeah, he aimed or she aimed to take their life, and they were successful. They completed suicide. And it really is scared that we've actually taken the time, and rightfully so, unfortunately, because of the circumstances, taken the time to really refine what that means, because we're at a point where it's becoming such commonplace. I often have one, and it's, again, we then get into the psychiatry and psychology and the difference of open and closed questions. When people say to me, I'm like, how you doing? And they say, yeah, I'm good. I often try and come back with something like, what would great look like? What would, if Lynton was great today, how would that look like? And then sometimes they're not in the mood, or sometimes they're exhausted, but you at least just want to spark that thought it just where they go, I'm not great.
It makes them pause for that split second. That's when you're like, that's not a question that I'm used to. What am I going to say next? And that's all you need. And sometimes it can be just that kind of question that can just make somebody like say something that you never thought that they were thinking. You're like, I'm going to pay you a bit more attention now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check in on you tonight a bit more now. Just like those little things. And for me, that was really nice of the members and the people that helped me with the language barrier. For me, that was like, right, that's a light bulb moment for me. That's something that I remember now and use going forward, and hopefully help educate people when they also may use the word committed, or as if we're vilifying these people, which is not the case.
Yeah,
these people wanted to do what they've done. We may not agree with why they've done it, but for them, that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah. We don't want people to reach that point, but it's important to acknowledge that the community, the system, just their life circumstances has failed them, and we can't save everybody. We can't save everybody. Even as we record this now, and given by the numbers, there will be people in the world attempting a successful suicide, which is a sad thought. But how are we going to embed that when we say about in the gym? Because the thing I love most about yours is that it's a very community-based gym, and it's one of those, if people aren't on board, they're not gonna get it. But I kind of feel like that's where we want to be. So like, if people are coming in and you've got your members on reception and they're like, hey man, what are you feeling great about today? Do you know what I mean? What was the win? Because I say this to all of my clients when they come in. I say, what was the win today? And they'll go X or Y, and I'll say, what did you struggle with today? Because we all struggle with something.
Oh, for
all
sure,
right.
for sure.
And otherwise, we feel like, oh no, I don't want to talk about it. People won't say, they don't want to bother you. Some teams, they don't want to open up with the issue. You're like, are you okay? And if they just start breaking down into tears and go, go, they might feel like they're pushed aside or ostracized, and people won't ask them next time. So I'll best not tell you because I don't want to burden you. But if it comes to that simple, what was the win today? What was the win this week? Do you know what I mean? What did you struggle with? Because everybody's struggling with something this day and age.
For sure. I think
and sometimes it's not that you're going to have an answer for them. And people are like, well, I don't know. I don't want them to say X because I haven't got an answer for them. It's not about having an answer. I haven't got to have an answer for everybody.
I had a conversation with a real close friend that's been in a position where they felt like they wanted to end their life, and they were very close to doing so. And he sat down with me and kind of explained, he was like, Lynton, like, there's a very fine line between, like, how can you do this when you know you've got kids versus if I do this, my child is better off without me. My children are better off if I'm not here with all of my stresses. My parents are better off if I'm not here with all the stresses. And for me, that was like, that makes total sense.
The pendulum then shifts where you become just you feel as though you're a drain on everything, the community, the decisions you've made have put your family in a position, and you're just like, I had a go at life. I'm just broken. I'm not doing this very well. Let's have another go next time, or I'm just sick of having a go now. And you almost feel like it's a gift then. You're like, I'm going to give people this gift because they're not going to ask me to do it. They're not going to kill me. But I know everybody must want this. And for me, I was looking through some of the warning signs when we were doing a trauma thing the other day, and somebody said to me one that really stuck out, that had been identified in a few people that had taken their lives, was when it shifts from hopelessness and sorrow and misery and depression into a very serene calmness. You know what I mean? And people can wrongly sometimes feel like that person's turned a corner. But maybe, and can often be the case, what they've actually done is, like we were talking about there, they've come to terms where they've gone down, 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 down. They've gone, I'm ruining everybody's life, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. And then their decision's been made. And then they're calm because they're like, now I'm just planning. I mean, it's funny you say that actually, because one of the people one of the ladies that had messaged me about the language had said that her father was in this position. And then she said exactly the same thing as what you just said there. That like it came from a point of where everyone was kind of like worried, and then in the end, like he'd done what he wanted to do, but he was at peace with it. The question of like, how could you do this when you've got a child, was initially my question, and right, so I was very wrong on that. Absolutely.
Like looking back now and say after the conversation with a real close friend and he explained it, I was like, naively, I did think like, how could you do this? Whereas now it's like, I fully get it. I fully get that that your family is better off financially, emotionally, all of these things that they're going to be better off. This is why you felt the need to complete.
Because you're applying your rational mind in it when you're not in that position, and it's so hard for you where you are and me where I am now, to bridge that gap. And that's why like the support structure you've put in place is really important, because so many people get to that point and we're all worth saving. They need to be supported and helped, and we need to step in around them like you guys do here within the community, to give them the support and the structure they need to step back. And it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect, right? It never is, because the world is constantly evolving, and it's such a noisy space in terms of, it's not just it's not just because the gym's closed that I'm trying to kill myself. There is a whole compilation of social media and ideology and expectations of the community of what you should and shouldn't be like as an individual. But I think it's so important to remember that, when people get to that point and they do think that somebody's going to be better off without them. And then again, this is just my personal view and also what I've been told and shared with my psychiatrists, things like that, is that when that decision comes and people make that decision, you think it's for the better, but what often happens is, and we see it even in the community of just the gym, who weren't related directly to Jordan, but they were just friends and stuff like that. The pain that's been experienced by your members and the guilt and the frustration, even by yourself, you're like, man, why wasn't I there? Why wasn't I? Why can't he talk to me? Why can't I talk to him? What was wrong? You're especially take that and put it onto his family and his children. It's like he was in a lot of pain, but it's like he's taken that pain accidentally and times it by 10 and strapped a vest to it and given it back to his family. And then it's, when he left this earth and left our time, it exploded. And that moment then reverberated, and it's wonderful to see that there has been some good come out of it. And I love that you have a long-term view on so many things, because, we talk about the gym being a decade old, and we spoke about gyms starting and stopping and coming and trying to copy what you're doing, all that sort of stuff. You are one of those people that you've got the infinite game versus the finite game. People want to be, I'm going to be the biggest gym in 2018, and you're like, that's fine. But we're going to be here in 2050. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? And the same with this. People will go, oh well, knee-jerk reaction, bit late, don't you think, Lynton? And you're like, well, no, because his mental health stopping. Yes. As somebody says, it's not going nowhere. It's getting worse. And if
COVID continues, even more so.
We're doing it now. We cannot bring Jordan back. Or anybody else, because he's not the be-all and end-all. There's lots of people struggling out there, and they all deserve attention and support. But this is for the thousands, as we've referenced from a statistical perspective, the thousands of people that live among us that may be on the precipice, even as we speak right now.
Yeah.
So, February, we're aiming for Feb, brother. Feb's the launch for the Wellbeing warehouse.
So we fingers crossed. Another week.
Another week,
yeah.
Wow. I mean, so maybe before Feb.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working hard. Say the team, me, everyone, all the people that I've had help from. We've been working hard, and we're close to launching now. So I'm trying to push it for next weekend.
Wow.
And then say what we can do. People can log on there, and regardless of what they're feeling, there's going to be help for them in some form or another.
Beautiful.
And we have kind of like a traffic light system in terms of like, if you're kind of in the green section or the yellow section, you can kind of get help from the Wellbeing warehouse. Yeah. If you're kind of in the amber section, you can then go onto one of the local charities that are more designed for that specific.
I love what you do there. I love that bit as well, because you're acknowledging, look, we can't. Everybody's overworked. Everybody's overstressed. The system is fracturing. That's why like you say, people have been on the waiting list for 14 months. Yeah. Some of that we can help. We can support. Yeah, we can give answers. We can give the steps 1 to 3, perhaps. Do you know what I mean? And that'll bring some people back. That will bring some people back. That'll bring them closer to a structure, to a strength that will support them. But you 100% acknowledge as well that those that require the real help, you are creating those connections. I know you've made the connections already. Those systems are in place. You've had them approved so that you can feed people into the places that they need to be. Nobody's going to arbitrarily go and sit in a room with Lynton who's about to kill themselves, and then you try and do a trick and it doesn't work. Yeah, I mean, people that are in that crisis moment, they're going.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely one of the things that we were toying with, kind of me and all the guys in the Wellbeing team, kind of like what is our position in the grand scheme of things? Yeah. And one thing that we are not is we are not a crisis team.
No.
We haven't got the infrastructure, we haven't got the team to be behind that, where people can come to us in a crisis point. Now, that was a really important part for me to kind of acknowledge. Initially, the aim was, right, I want to help everybody. But then after like letting things settle down, taking a back step, unfortunately, we can't help everybody. And the people that are in crisis right now, they haven't got time to send us an email. No. They haven't got time to wait for a webinar. They need the help right now. So I say with this traffic light system, they can go on and say, if you're in the green or yellow area, you can come in our webinars and we'll help you out.
Yeah.
If you're in the amber area, you go to the local charity like Mind or Turning Point, depending on what the situation is. Or if you're in the red section, then straight away you direct to the crisis team.
Because sometimes it's that you feel like you say, if people do that step 1, step 2, the green amber that you refer to there, sometimes it's just a case that they think they're failing and they think they're alone in this. But when they come into an environment like that and they see how many other people are like them, it doesn't fix anything. But it makes you feel like, I'm not a bad person to feel like I'm struggling or to feel like I'm wrestling. Like I've failed because you should be crushing this. You should be nailing it. Why aren't you bossing it? Aren't you more of a man or a woman? Why aren't you independent? Why aren't you strong? It's not that. That's why those first 2 steps can sometimes be enough to bring people back, because they realise, well, hey, I'm not alone. Yeah, I'm not alone.
That's definitely,
and I'm not weird, and I've not failed.
Yeah, from like a male point of view, kind of the whole stigma of like men going to therapists, and like a lot of people think that like men don't feel like this.
Yeah,
and it's just, to me, it's just so into having been through therapy. like it's so insane that people still think that men don't feel like that. Like if anything, from especially recent experience, more men than women feel like this.
Well, it's the three quarters. You know, we said about statistics earlier. 3/4 of them are males.
Yeah.
That
So
suicide.
like, and for me, what I noticed for the back of doing like videos on our Instagram and social media, as soon as I admitted, one, that I'd been to therapy, two, that like I struggle with a lot of things over the years, but three, like there's ways and there's kind of methods that you can use to reduce those down and sometimes exclude the issues that were there initially. There's ways out.
Yeah.
And once I'd done those videos, it was like I kind of like opened the gate.
Yeah.
And all these men appeared in my inbox like, Lynton, I'm the same. Like,
man.
I mean, for me, I went therapy about relationships with women.
Yeah.
And then literally I posted this out, and I'm quite raw. Like, I always believe in, if you're just honest with people, nobody can say anything. Like a bit of honesty, a bit of personalization, nobody can say anything. No. But when I'd done that,
because your experience.
Yeah, like when I told them I'd been to therapy, it was all about relationships. I had so many men like, Lynton, I do the same with women.
Yeah.
Like, I've been there. Like, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, honestly, like, please don't think that it's only. And I know for me, before therapy, hands up, I was like, why am I this weird person? No, honestly.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Honestly,
I know. I hear
since
you.
I've been like 18, 19 Pete, I've always thought like, why am I the odd one out? Like, I'm the only one in my friend circle that's not married.
Yeah.
I'm the only one in my friend circle that doesn't have kids.
Yeah.
And for years I felt like, why only me? Like, why am I the odd one? Why am I the only one that struggles? Yeah. And then I realised that isn't true.
No.
Many of us struggle. It's just that most men don't talk about it, and that's the biggest misconception is that most of us feel like, and I struggle with a lot of things. I just have the ability now to not struggle on the outside because I've been through therapy. I've learned things that I can
and you
change.
put structures in place,
and that's all it's about.
I'm totally the same, my man.
Once you get to a therapy and you learn these little techniques, the issues that I had 10 years ago now are like, I kind of think like, how was that even an issue back then?
Yeah.
And that's like how it is now. Majority of the issues that I had 10 years ago are like, it's like second nature to me now.
Yeah.
And that for me was like that was a big thing that I noticed. That as soon as I admitted that I had been this guy that was like a 18 stone gym owner, do you know what I mean? Like looked like he trained for a long period of time, and he was like this alpha male. As soon as I admitted that I'm not this alpha male all of the time, I do struggle, I do find things hard. As soon as I admitted that, all of these men appeared in my inbox like, Lynton, I'm the same. Where can I go? Who's your therapist? And I was like, this is what we need. If we can just make talking about having a therapist, struggling with things, as if we're talking about football, that's how I think this change. And I'm not trying to bash the whole reach out to me if you need help thing. But clearly it isn't working because suicide is still on the increase. So if it was working, that would reduce. And again,
or at least plateau.
And it's not. It's just going up exponentially. And I think as soon as we can make talking about struggling with women, struggling with parents, struggling with children, struggling with relationships, whatever it is, if we can make that normal, as normal as talking about who's playing football at the weekend, for me, that's the start of the direction.
I struggle with long periods of time with people in general, with other human beings, which is so crazy because I spend a lot of time talking to people, but as is evident from probably the podcast, it tends to be quite intense conversation.
For sure.
And I'm like that all the time, which is very difficult to be around. I sympathise so much with my wife and stuff like that because, you get here with me, guys. I come home like, babe, what was the win today? What's your goals tomorrow? What's that? When you're like, shit, Pete, for God's sake, give me a break. But this is where, and you said about picking up these tools and picking up these things, people see me getting in ice baths and all this sort of stuff, which is Lynton's going to do, by the way, everybody, even though he's got a little bit of resistance, but, people need pushing.
We're working on that.
Working on it. But people see me do that and they're like, oh, it's so Spartan. It's so, you're so after it, so disciplined. And I say to people, that's a coping mechanism. That is a coping mechanism because, one of my coaches, because again, I have a coach, somebody helps me because if you don't, you got to practice what you preach.
Oh, for sure.
Do you know what I mean? I access that support. I access that help because your values come from your voids. You know what I mean? What was originally a void. So where I used to struggle before are now my highest values, looking after my mental health and my physical health. Before I said my physical health was a priority. It wasn't. I was filling myself full of drugs and stuff. And now the physical health has taken on a new plane, and so is the mental health. I do these things, podcasting, audiobooks, coaches, ice bathing, because I'm trying to build my mental fortress because I know how weak it has been. And weak's probably a harsh word for people to hear, but I know the effect it has if I don't look after it. So all of these things are my ability to stay, quote unquote, stable, if we can use that word, and operate, function in the world. Because I always say to people like, I'm really social, but I'm not sociable. So like, I love sitting here having a really good dynamic conversation with you, But after this, I would love to be alone. I'll listen to an audiobook and I'll go for a walk.
It's actually ironic that you say that, because
spend a lot of time by myself.
For me, like on the outside or in the gym, people would think that I'm a really extrovert person.
Yeah.
As soon as work finished, I'm by myself. I read a lot. I don't really socialise. I have 2 or 3 friends. I'm very bipolar opposite to how I am in the gym.
But if people are like that and they don't see people like yourself or myself that are like that, they'll think, I don't really see anybody. Yeah. I feel like this must mean I'm a lonely person. This must mean I'm a weirdo. This must mean I'm pushed out. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm like that. I'm like that. I take a lot of time alone. I predominantly train alone. You know, I do a lot of walks. Every now and again, you know, my daughter or my wife will come with me. But they are selective people who I've chosen that I want to add value to their life. They want to add value to my life. I don't feel the pressure to subscribe to this ideology of what everyone else is doing, because I always say to people, look, is everyone else happy? So why are you trying to be that way? You know what I mean? We're all perpetuating this thing that's not filling our voids. Do you know what I mean? And this is where the values that we speak about there of mental health, of self-care, do you know what I mean, need to really come through. And I think there's a massive thing. I made a note on the paper in front of me that lots of people can do this, and we hope lots of gyms do this. But there's something so powerful about seeing the warehouse do it, because in so many people's, not uneducated, but uninformed minds, warehouse was where the steel met the flesh and the beef and the that and the that. So you would expect this from a nice little leisure facility that does yoga 7 times a day. They've got a wellness, but to see somebody, see a facility that is of such strength and power and holds such deep roots in the community, to see them doing it, then you're like, whoa. Step out the way. This is going to be good. They're leading from the front. They're not ignoring it. They're not going man up. This is a gym that you'd be forgiven for associating a man up mentality to. And you guys you're serious about everything you do, and you are serious about this. And it's great to see it materialize. I know I've had a glimpse at the platform. It looks super user friendly. It looks awesome, brother. And next week apparently, but by Feb we'll be rocking and rolling, and people can tap in.
By Feb, it'll 100% be up. I mean, with the website, for me, it was always about, let's have a website that requires the least amount of clicks.
Yes.
You mean, because that for me was a big.
Got to get to where you want to be quickly.
Amazon do that very well. Like, you mean the one click shop out,
swipe,
like,
done.
There's a reason why they do that, because they've learned that people don't want to be on a website clicking all over the place. So our website is.
And with all due respect, they've done it in a way that gets you to pay your money as quick as possible. But also, with mental health and anything like that, if you have to ask 6 or 7 times, you go, oh, sorry, I wasn't meaning to bother you. You know, if you go in and go, ask at reception, then wait over there, then fill in the form, and you'll just leave. Do you know what I mean? You need to be able to tap when you're in that moment. I want an answer now. How quickly can I get through? So I love that you've acknowledged that and you've done about it.
I mean, I think on the top of my head, you can go from logging on the website to being in a webinar in 4 clicks.
That's beautiful. Absolutely. It's not like, fill out 17 different forms, then wait for somebody to email you back, then register your email on your email and log in, and people are like, I'm not really tech savvy. I've just said I'm struggling. You're not helping me. You're actually scaring me, and you're triggering my anxiety. I don't get it. I'm scared.
This is exactly what I try to get across to the therapist. Like, hats off to their therapists, what they do. But for me, most of their websites are so hard to use. They're so user friendly, and they're so formal, so clinical. For me, I was like, right, we're going to go bipolar opposite. We're going to go, and if you look at when people go onto the website, you're probably going to think it's a joke. Like we've got little cool stick men as the icons, but it is honestly, when you see it, you're like, this is how mental health needs to be approached. Mental health doesn't need to be so serious. Like, of course, people when they are there, like they get into the brink of feeling like they want to take their own life or self-harm, and it gets that serious. Of course, none of it is a joke. We're not trying to say that
it needs to be serious, but it doesn't need to be clinical.
Yes, and this is what we've gone with. It's very user-friendly. It's like, it's just really cool, really laid back. And so I'm sure it's like 4 or 5 clicks from loading the website to being in one of our webinars. So now somebody can go there, and they're not, like, they have this thing with marketing, like, if you give somebody the option of 100 t-shirts,
27 options, they're
like, I don't want any t-shirt now. I'll keep what I've got.
We sit down and we're like, hey, let's watch a DVD tonight. What you got? I've got 1,000 DVDs. We're going to spend 4 hours picking it and then not watch one at all. If you go, right, I've got Bad Boys and I've got Notebook.
Done. Which one do you want?
Me and you are going to choose Notebook.
But
so I'm saying, that's it, isn't it? And you go, is it here? Is it now? There's a traffic light system. Bang, bang, bang. Let's go here. Do you know what I mean?
And
would it be perfect for you? Maybe not, but let's get you started. Do you know what I mean? And let's get you in, and then from there we can evolve. We need to start the conversation.
Do you know what I mean? Kind of with the website as well. Some of the charities they do have, unfortunately, do have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months waiting list. So the person can then go and like sign up and register with those websites. But in the meantime, still use our therapists, still use our mental health groups, still use our webinars whilst they're waiting for a more long-term thing.
And the people on high will be like, no, you need to take this seriously, Lynton. Yeah. You need to do it properly. Okay, but properly means 10 months.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to give them help now because your solution is in 10 months' time.
Yep.
And I'm sure yours comes with the right decision. I know it's got data behind it. I know it's got masses of experience, but you're missing the fact that the water is rising. Yeah. And you're trying to build a boat for someone that's just drowned.
That's it.
The water is rising. Just throw them a flipping armband.
Yeah, just something.
For God's sake, tell them they're not alone. Tell them we're coming with the boats, but we're here now. Let's all grab onto the armband and let's listen in and let's try and help each other.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's designed to do. Exactly, nail on the head there.
Lynton, that's powerful, brother. Thank you so much for coming back today, my man. Really, really appreciate it. And I know the gym is looking epic. I know you want to refurb again, but I know so much of the money's going into the wellness, well-being as well. But keep doing what you're doing, brother. Absolutely love it.
Appreciate it, brother, man. Appreciate it.
And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take it easy, man. But life is going to be tough. Life is hard. It's supposed to be. Don't ask for life to be easier. Ask yourself to be better. You've got to raise your standards. You've got to raise your game. I thank you for coming back to the Firefighters Podcast. I thank you for listening in. I hope you took something away today that made you smile, that maybe gave you a little bit of inspiration, maybe gave you a little bit of motivation, or maybe helped you see the world in a slightly different way and you take some optimism into tomorrow. Thank you for coming back to the Firefighters Podcast. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay hungry, and I'll see you soon.